Good morning, good morning. In you go. Well done, everyone. Good morning. My name's Paula Judd. I'm head teacher at Middlefield Community Primary School. We have raised our CVA by 5 points in the last 2 years to 103.5. Please do come in and see how we do it. So here we are in our Year 5 and 6 classes. This is actually where it all began for us. We had extremely poor SAT results for a few years, and when I took over as head, we decided that we needed to get the 5 and 6 team together, and we needed to think of some strategies that would enable us to make sure that our Key Stage 2 SAT scores rose.
And we have got our 3 activities as normal. One that I will be doing, one that Miss Corrigan will be doing outside, and our independent activity that you will be doing in here. So the first one that I'm going to be doing, as usual, is cooking. So we all have to make sure we've got our clean hands. And our learning objective for that is, can I use equipment correctly to make a healthy sandwich?
We tried to consider carefully our children's needs and indeed the needs of the children in our school with special needs, because we've got about 50% of our children on the special needs register. You'll notice that we don't always just teach our children in lesson format. We often do things like Mrs Wood is doing today with her practical days. The children have been studying fractions.
That's it. Excellent. Chop the crust there because that's still attached. Right, okay, well done. Now, has everybody got quarters?
Yeah.
So one of the ways that she's going to get this firmly implanted in their head is by allowing them to actually cut some sandwiches into fractions. They're doing some paintings, they're doing a variety of activities to make sure that all the work that they've been doing over the last few weeks becomes embedded.
Chloe, why's your sandwich?
Because it's got loads of protein in.
And you've got chicken, haven't you? Chicken's a protein. And you've got the salad. What does salad? Why is salad healthy?
It's got loads of vitamins.
Vitamins in to keep us healthy, okay?
This was one of the decisions that we took very early on, that we were going to make sure that the children actually understood the first step before they moved to the second, because our experience was that rushing through the curriculum didn't actually help anybody.
Okay, so we've got 3 quarters. If we eat another quarter, how much will we have left?
2 quarters.
2 quarters are equivalent
To a half.
half fraction. Okay, so eat your next quarter, and you will have eaten 2 quarters or a half.
It led to our decision to create what we call support classes in our school.
Emily, would you read it through for me?
The
Capacity.
capacity.
The support classes are planned for by the teachers and the learning support officers together. They're taught by the learning support officers alongside the teacher.
2,387 tickets for Saturday's match were sold. How many tickets are still available?
Okay.
This had the most fantastic effect on our SAT results and, of course, therefore on our CVA. Because what happened was that the accelerated progress that these children actually had during their SAT year meant that most of these children achieved either 3 level 4s, or in some cases level 4s, and the odd child actually achieved a level 5 here.
Liam, come and help him, please. Okay, work it out together. Okay, do you want Dan to put 10 fingers up? And then he can take 7 away. Show him how many he's going to put down. How many's there, Dan? 3. So the 3 goes there.
Now, we had enormous amounts of data on these children, but I'm afraid none of that data was being put to any real use. So we needed to have a very highly focused set of assessment data, which would enable each teacher to know where their child was and where their child needed to move to next.
My name is Margaret Hunter. I'm a Year 2 teacher, but not just a Year 2 teacher. I'm also in charge of assessment and finding out what goes across the school. We've had superb results at the end of Key Stage 2, and it's now really, really important that we apply what we've done within Key Stage 2 in Key Stage 1. Can you put your finger on number 25 for me? What's the number before?
24.
Lovely. What's the number after?
26.
Well done. Focusing on assessment has been an essential part of our CVA. It wasn't just having the data available, it was what we did with it. And it was really the focus of the class profiles that are used right the way across the school now that made it very clear to us who was underachieving, and then we could identify these target groups and then put initiatives or particular things in class for them to raise their standards.
Jamie's got to check through to see if she's used capital letters at the start of sentences, full stops at the end, and finger spaces between her words. Where's your capital letters? Right, what she just said. Whoops. So if I give her that pencil, Jamie can go through and she can find her capital letters.
Everybody's responsible for their own profiles, but they're all put together and drawn together by the literacy coordinator and the numeracy coordinator and myself. And what we do as a team is we sit down and look at it. It is then reported back to the senior leadership team where any particular problems or anything to celebrate is shown and shared. If we look at writing, you'll see there's quite a group there that need to focus on writing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
Okay, so you'll see that these were the children that have been identified.
You see, this is the thing, isn't it? That it's funny that a lot of these children here are not on our special needs register. So it's not our special needs children who are not progressing, who are not making progress. It's actually not children who you would expect. This is going to be quite useful. Well, not quite. It's going to be very useful because particularly when you think that there are 18 children in year 3 and 4 on the list for writing, and they're still the biggest group for reading. So there'll be some, I mean, I'll have to ask some very hard questions about what is being done to accelerate these children's progress. Accountability became a big issue for us. One of the main reasons that we decided to tackle accountability was because this had been a school which had a fairly hierarchical way of management. So one of the first things that I decided to do was to flatten the structure here. So we don't have deputies or a deputy in our school. We have a senior leadership team which is made up of me, the curriculum coordinator, the SENCO and the assessment coordinator. And this has made everybody understand that they are accountable for the children sitting in front of them. That year, that moment, that week. Because the interesting thing, of course, from our point of view is that when we consider where we are now in terms of SATs, Key Stage 1 SATs improved vastly last year, didn't they? And so when those children take Key Stage 2 SATs, we're not going to be looking at solid level 4s. If we've got to continue to keep our CVA or indeed even go back to perhaps the heights of 07, we've got to make sure that the solid level 4s actually now become level 5s. We have lots and lots of strategies and lots of interventions in our school. And every time a gap occurred that we hadn't plugged, we tried something new.
Mrs Crichton, I'm literacy coordinator and I've worked in 5 and 6 for about 5 years. Afternoon writing groups have been really started in the last year or two just to give children who are working at a higher level the opportunity to work even harder. It gives them a chance to work in a slightly different way. It's had a huge impact because it's given the children a chance to grow. It's made them feel as if they're important and given the opportunity to have their say. What I want you to do is remind me what you need to include in a letter that you are putting in a bottle. What does a message in a bottle have to have for it to persuade? What are you doing if you can improve on my work?
Up-levelling.
Up-levelling, brilliant. So you nick my ideas, add your own. If you find something else you could up-level, you tell me, or you put it into your work.
We like set our own targets, and from the start of my book, I've started with my targets, but at the start it was my handwriting. See there, not was joined there, and then a few weeks later, look, can you see the difference in that, the joint? And then after I got my handwriting sorted, then I have to like up-level my work with punctuation.
Even though the teachers knew their targets, they weren't always shared successfully with the children. And of course, if you don't know what you're aiming for, you can't actually improve your skills. That's been a whole school target for us really for the last year or two.
If we keep trying, then we'll achieve our targets and get our level 5s.
Keep working towards the targets and we eventually get our goal.
A few weeks ago my handwriting wasn't that good, and this week when my mum saw me handwriting, she was like, "Where'd you learn that?" And she just like was proud of me and everything.
I think that the really great thing about the school over the last few years is that we have seen a real change in attitude from our parents. They can come in and they can discuss with their child's class teacher any difficulties or problems. They can also, of course, look at their child's work as well at this point. And all the time, what we're trying to say to our parents is, come in, become involved, let's work as a partnership. And the impact of having our parents involved showed in our CVA school.
I'm Donna Clark, I'm the learning mentor here at Middlefield, and we've responded to parents' requests to initiate a coffee morning. I think it's really important to get parents on board, because if there's any attendance issues or any other issues with the children, I will bring it up at a meeting like this, or I'll get somebody from the LEA to come in and just reassure people how crucial attendance is to further their child's education. And I think the culture is changing. It's slow, but it's changing. Our attendance certainly has gone up and it's improved. Yeah, but if you need us, you know where we are, Julie, because we'll happily bring them down. It's only down the road, isn't it?
I think they try and keep the school as friendly as possible, because people have the aspect of, well, you know, there's parents here that might think, well, I never liked school. So they perceive school as a frightening place, but just throw your children in. And this school wants that to go. They don't want that. They don't want the stereotype of school. Because of the relaxed atmosphere, I feel like the parents are relaxed. So the children can come home and say, Mum, we did this, or Mum, we need to have this aspect. And the parents will go, oh yeah, or trips out. Mum, we need to have so many people to come on the trips out with us, and mums will go.
You often get people phoning you up or indeed visiting you and asking you, how have you pushed your CVA scores up in the way that you have? Sadly, what you get is often fairly negative response to that, because people will say to you, well, that never work in my school. I couldn't possibly do that in my school. And sadly, I hear that all the time. Because you do have to have a level of commitment from the staff and from the parents and the children that I think some people feel that their staff, children, parents are not able to give. What I try to say to them is, if you can just stick with it, if you can just persevere through the difficult bits, actually this is going to be fantastic in the end.